The maid's secret. The child her boss never knew. Have you ever seen a secret so well hidden that even time seemed afraid to reveal it? In a city full of lights, noise, and ambition, they say the city never sleeps, but sometimes the city hides. Behind every bright apartment window, behind those glass apartment walls, live stories no one dares to tell. Some are stories of love, some are stories of greed, and a few are stories too painful to tell. This is one of them, the story of Ruth, a young maid whose silence carried a truth that would one day shake an entire family. In this world, people forget that the heart remembers, and that the truth, no matter how long it sleeps, always wakes up. It was just one night when kindness turned to temptation, and a secret was born that would live for 15 years. As the saying, truth may sleep, but it never dies. And tonight we tell the untold truth, the maid's secret, the child her boss never knew. Early morning. A taxi pulls up in front of a modern apartment building in a bustling African city. Cars passing, security guards at the gate, the smell of dust and fresh bread from nearby stalls. Ruth stepped out, clutching a small brown bag. Her shoes were slightly dusty, her face humble but hopeful. She stood still for a moment, staring up at the tall glass windows of the apartment block. This must be the place. God, please let this one be peaceful. The security guard at the gate, a big man with a walkie-talkie, eyed her curiously. You be the new house girl? Ruth? Yes, sir. Madam called me to start today. He nodded and opened the gate. Madam Okoro no like noise, oh. Just do your work, you go last long here. Ruth smiled faintly. I understand. Thank you. Inside, the apartment looked like something from a magazine. Polished floors, cream curtains, a chandelier glowing softly even in daylight. She stood quietly, almost afraid to touch anything. Then high heels clicked on the tiles. Mrs. Okoro, you must be Ruth? Ruth? Yes, Ma. You're younger than I expected. I hope you can work hard. I don't have time for lazy people. Ruth, nodding. I will do my best, Ma. Mrs. Okoro. Good. You'll clean, cook, and do laundry. My husband likes things neat. Don't disturb him. He works from home sometimes. Ruth? Yes, Ma. Mrs. Okoro, walking off. Your room is behind the kitchen. Make sure you keep it tidy. I'll be traveling next week, so I need everything in order before then. Ruth watched her go, her heels echoing across the tiled floor. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself. Ruth? One day at a time, Ruth, one day at a time. Soft instrumental hums as the camera pans to her tiny maid's room. Small, neat, a single bed with a thin blanket. She kneels briefly to pray before unpacking her clothes. Every big story starts with a quiet beginning. And for Ruth, this apartment was more than a job. It was a doorway into a secret she never asked for. Evening light filters through the curtains. The faint hum of a generator fills the air. Ruth moves around the dining area, setting plates on the glass table. The atmosphere feels calm, ordinary, but something is changing. Sometimes temptation doesn't come in darkness. It comes in politeness. Ruth never planned to cross a line, neither did he. But kindness, when repeated without boundaries, can build a bridge no one meant to walk. Mr. Okoro sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He looked tired, his tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. Ruth, is dinner ready? Ruth, from the kitchen. Yes, sir. Just adding the last bit of stew. Mr. Okoro. You know, ever since you started cooking, I've actually begun to look forward to coming home. Ruth, smiling faintly, not turning. Thank you, sir. I just cook how my mother taught me. He chuckled. Mr. Okoro. Then your mother must be an angel. I haven't eaten food this good in years. Ruth brings a tray to the table. The aroma of jollof rice fills the room. Sit down. You've been working all day. Eat with me. Ah, no, sir. Madam will not like that. Mr. Okoro, smiling, reassuring. Madam is traveling. It's just food, Ruth. Sit. She hesitates, then sits on the far edge of the chair. They eat quietly. The silence is almost peaceful, too peaceful. How long have you been working in the city? This is my second house, sir. The first one didn't end well. What happened? Ruth, low voice. They said I broke a glass. But it wasn't me. Still, I left quietly. I don't like trouble. Mr. Okoro. You're different. Quiet, respectful. People like you are rare. Their eyes meet for a brief second, long enough to make Ruth uncomfortable. She quickly looks down. Ruth? Thank you, sir. He clears his throat. Mr. Okoro. I didn't mean to make you nervous. I just wanted to say, you're doing a good job. She nods and stands up to clear the dishes. But as she walks away, he watches her with a look he doesn't understand himself. A mixture of guilt and admiration. That was the first night he looked at her differently. And when people cross small lines often enough, soon they can't see where the line ever was. Later that week, the sky darkened early. Rain hammered the city. Thunder rolled in waves. Mrs. Okoro had traveled to Abuja for a conference. The apartment is silent. Heavy rain hits the glass windows. Power is gone. Only candlelight glows in the living room. The sound of thunder echoes softly. Ruth walks out of the kitchen carrying folded clothes. She places them neatly on the couch. Her face looks tired but peaceful. Suddenly, lightning flashes. She flinches. From the hallway, footsteps approach. It's Mr. Okoro in a loose shirt, holding a candle. He looks restless, lost in thought. Ruth, you're still awake? Ruth, startled. Yes, sir. I was just finishing the folding. You should rest. It's late. He sets the candle on the table and sits down. The flame flickers between them. Ruth, softly. I couldn't sleep, sir. The rain is too heavy. He nods, staring at the shadows dancing on the wall. Mr. Okoro. It's funny. This house is full of noise during the day, but at night it feels empty. Ruth gives a polite smile but stays quiet. Mr. Okoro. Do you ever get lonely, Ruth? She hesitates. Ruth. I'm used to being alone, sir. Mr. Okoro, soft laugh. You're strong. I envy that. He leans back, his tone softening, his guard lowering. Mr. Okoro. Sometimes I wonder, what's the point of everything? The money, the house. Yet I can't even talk freely with my own wife. Ruth lowers her eyes. Ruth. I'm sure Madam still cares, sir. He looks at her, long and searching. Mr. Okoro. You remind me of what peace used to feel like. Ruth looks up, nervous. Ruth. Sir. He moves closer, not forceful but desperate for warmth. Mr. Okoro, low voice. I don't know when I started noticing you. The rain gets louder. Ruth's eyes fill with confusion and fear. Ruth whispers, Please, sir? This isn't right. Mr. Okoro, voice breaking. I know, but I can't stop thinking. She steps back, her voice trembling. Ruth, you have a wife. He sighs heavily, guilt already in his eyes. She's been gone for months. Even when she's here, she's gone. A long silence. The candle flickers again. Ruth turns away, holding her hands tightly. Sir, please, let's just forget this talk. But when she turns to pick the folded clothes, he gently catches her hand. The moment freezes. Their faces close, eyes full of things neither can name. He reached out slowly, his hand brushing against hers. She tried to move, but her breath caught, not from desire but confusion. Their eyes met. The candle flickered. Thunder rolled again. Ruth, weakly. This is wrong. Mr. Okoro, voice shaking. I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening to me. He stepped closer, his face inches from hers. Ruth's heart pounded. She could smell the rain on his shirt. She whispered again, trembling. Sir, please, let's not do this. But the silence swallowed her words. A tear rolled down her cheek. He hesitated, then the world fell quiet. The candle flame bent low, shadows blurred, and the camera pans away from them to the flickering light as thunder echoes one last time. It didn't happen with force. It happened with weakness, the kind that wears a face of comfort. And when morning came, the rain stopped. But the peace in that house was gone. It only took one moment, one heartbeat too long, and everything changed. Not with shouting or seduction, but with weakness and silence. When desire hides under kindness, it doesn't shout, it whispers. And Ruth, who came seeking peace, began to feel fear she couldn't explain. Morning light creeps through the curtains. The sound of birds mixes with distant traffic. Ruth stands by the sink, washing plates slowly. Her eyes look blank, lost somewhere far away. That night changed nothing and everything. There were no witnesses. No screaming, no drama, just silence. The kind that eats you from the inside out. Ruth didn't tell anyone, not even the guard downstairs who sometimes smiled at her. She cleaned, cooked, smiled when spoken to. But something inside her had died quietly. A few days later, Ruth was scrubbing the balcony when Mrs. Okoro returned from her trip, loud, elegant, and full of energy. She dropped her bag, sighed, and looked around. "Ruth, the house looks good." "You did well." Ruth, softly, "Thank you, Ma." "Where's my husband?" "He went to the office, Ma." "Good. At least this time he didn't travel without telling me." Ruth freezes for a moment, then quickly continues cleaning. "Mrs. Okoro, are you okay? You look pale." "You're not falling sick, are you?" Ruth, forcing a smile. "No, Ma, just tired." Drink water. We can't have you fainting in my house." She walks off, already on another phone call. Life continued, at least on the outside. But Ruth's silence became heavier each day, and guilt has its own heartbeat. A few weeks later, it was a Saturday morning. The smell of fried eggs filled the kitchen. Ruth bent over the sink, washing dishes. Suddenly, she felt dizzy. The room spun. She dropped the plate. It shattered on the floor. Mrs. Okoro from the living room. "What was that?" Ruth, panicking. "Sorry, Ma. It slipped." "Be careful, please." "Those plates aren't cheap." Ruth clutched the counter, breathing heavily. Her stomach twisted. She ran to the small bathroom and threw up. Her hands trembled as she washed her face. She whispered to herself, "Ruth?" No, this can't be happening." She counted on her fingers, eyes wide, lips trembling. Then she sat on the toilet seat, covering her face. The body doesn't lie, even when the heart wants to. Ruth knew what it meant, and the truth hit her harder than the rain that night. Weeks pass again. Her stomach slowly begins to show. Mrs. Okoro notices. One morning, while folding clothes, she glances up. "Ruth, you've been eating a lot lately, eh?" Ruth forces a laugh. "Ruth, maybe I just need rest, Ma." But her eyes dart away too fast. Mrs. Okoro's suspicion grows. A month later, it's a hot afternoon. The air feels heavy. Mrs. Okoro storms into the maid's small room holding a letter from the school. Ruth once attended? Her tone is sharp and cold. Mrs. Okoro. "Ruth, tell me the truth. Are you pregnant?" Ruth freezes, soap still on her hands. "Ruth? I don't know, Ma." Mrs. Okoro. "Don't lie to me. I'm not stupid. Look at you. You've been moving slowly, eating strange things, sleeping early. Who did this to you?" Ruth's lips tremble. Her voice cracks. "Please, Ma." Mrs. Okoro, furious. "Who? Was it one of those delivery boys? Or the security guard? Speak up." Ruth starts crying. "Ruth, it wasn't them." Mrs. Okoro grabs her by the arm. "Then who?" Silence. Only the ticking wall clock. Then, from the doorway, a voice breaks through. Mr. Okoro, quietly. "Enough." Mrs. Okoro turns, eyes wide. "You knew?" He doesn't answer, just looks down at the floor, shame covering his face. Ruth falls to her knees, sobbing. "Ruth?" "I'm sorry, Ma." "Please forgive me." Mrs. Okoro, trembling with rage. "Forgive you? In my own house? You betray me under my own roof." "You filthy girl!" She raises her hand, but Mr. Okoro steps between them. Mr. Okoro. "That's enough, Amara, don't." Mrs. Okoro. "Don't tell me what to do." "You're not innocent either." A long silence follows. Ruth weeps uncontrollably. Mr. Okoro closes his eyes, regret written on his face. Mrs. Okoro, coldly. "You'll leave this house tomorrow." "Before I wake up. I don't want to ever see your face again." She storms out. Mr. Okoro remains standing, staring at Ruth, who's still kneeling on the floor. Mr. Okoro, softly. "I'm sorry, Ruth. I didn't mean for this to happen." She lifts her tear-streaked face. "Ruth? Then why did it?" He has no answer. He turns and leaves the room, the door closing quietly behind him. Sometimes sin doesn't shout. It whispers. And by the time you hear it, it's already inside the house. That night, Ruth packed her few belongings. By morning, she was gone. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence, and a new life growing inside her. Months later, nighttime, the rain pours heavily outside a small rented single room at the city outskirts. Ruth sits on the floor, sweating, clutching her stomach. Ruth's new home was nothing like the apartment she left. No chandeliers, no marble floors. Just cracked walls, a flickering bulb, and the cries of stray dogs outside. She screamed as the pain grew stronger. No one was there. No nurse, no friend. Just her and God. Moments later, the cries of a newborn filled the room. Ruth held him close, trembling. "You made it, my son. Emmanuel, God with us." She looks at the child's tiny face, his eyes identical to Mr. Okoro's. She closes hers, sobbing softly. She didn't know how she would raise him, but she knew she would never let shame define his name. Years later, the small boy, Emmanuel, now about 10, runs through a crowded street laughing. Ruth walks behind him carrying groceries. Emmanuel: "Mama, one day I'll buy you a big car." "I don't need a car. Just be a good boy." They laugh. The bond between them is warm. The years were not easy. Ruth washed clothes, cleaned shops, and worked nights to pay school fees. But her son grew, smart, humble, and full of light. At night, she'd sit by his bed whispering prayers. Not for money but for peace. She never told him who his father was. Some truths were too heavy for a child's heart. Scene opens in a bright school compound with decorations for a competition ceremony. Teacher into mic. "And the overall winner of this year's national essay competition is Emmanuel Ruth Okoro." Applause. Ruth gasps from the crowd, covering her mouth in joy. 15 years later, Ruth's silence met destiny. Her son's scholarship came from Okoro Group of Companies, the same man who once destroyed her peace. Cut to the stage. Mr. and Mrs. Okoro arrive as chief guests. Elegant, powerful, smiling. Mr. Okoro, to his wife: "I'm proud of our company's youth program." Yes, it's the only good thing we both still agree on. They laugh lightly, unaware of what's about to unfold. Emmanuel steps forward to receive his award. When Mr. Okoro shakes his hand, their eyes meet, and the world seems to stop. Mr. Okoro, softly: "What's your name, son?" Emmanuel: "Emmanuel, sir." "Emmanuel Ruth." The smile fades from Mr. Okoro's face. His breath catches. The boy's face mirrors his own younger self. Some truths don't need words. They speak through faces, through eyes. And in that moment, Mr. Okoro met the son he never knew he had. After the ceremony, parents gather outside. Ruth waits quietly near the school gate with her handbag. The past always finds its way home, even after 15 years. Mr. Okoro approaches slowly, his hands shaking. "Ruth?" She stiffens, turns slowly. "Sir." Mr. Okoro: "Is he mine?" Silence. Ruth looks away. "Ruth, what difference will it make now?" "He's my son." Mr. Okoro, guilty: "I should have taken responsibility. I was wrong." "Ruth, you were a married man. You chose silence." Tears form in his eyes. Mr. Okoro: "I want to help. I want to be part of his life." "Ruth, you already are. Every time he smiles, I see you." She turns to leave. He stands frozen, guilt written all over him. Some forgiveness doesn't need words. Sometimes walking away is the loudest answer. Weeks later, Ruth sits at home sorting clothes. A letter slides under the door. She opens it, a scholarship award for Emmanuel signed personally by Mr. Okoro. He never came again. But he sent what he could, maybe not to fix the past, but to make peace with it. Ruth smiled through tears. "Thank you, Lord. You see the hearts we hide." Camera pans to Emmanuel reading and laughing in the background. The light of morning falling across his face. The city kept moving. Cars honked, children played, people chased success. But somewhere in a small apartment, truth was living quietly. Ruth never married. Mr. Okoro grew older, softer, humbler. And Emmanuel, the boy of silence, became the man of truth. They say truth can be delayed, but it can never be buried. Because no matter how long it hides, it will always rise, even in the eyes of a child. In the book of Proverbs 12:19 it says, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." Ruth's truth endured. Her pain became purpose, and her silence became a story. Every story leaves behind a lesson, not just for one person, but for everyone involved. For Ruth, her pain taught her that silence doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes the quiet heart carries the loudest strength. For Mr. Okoro, his mistake showed that power without self-control leads to shame. The truth he hid became the mirror he couldn't avoid. For Mrs. Okoro, her anger was real, but forgiveness would have healed faster than bitterness. In every home, peace begins where pride ends. And for Emmanuel, the boy born in silence, his life proved that no child is a mistake when God's purpose is still at work. Voiceover, soft close. So, my friend, remember, everyone's action becomes someone's lesson. Live with truth, love with care, and never forget. Secrets may sleep, but they never die. In the end, truth may bend, but it never breaks. For every hidden story, God writes a louder ending. African tales, untold truths, where every story speaks light and every lesson finds a home.